Hola a todos, estamos en Planta Saint-Gobain en Ramos Arizpe y el día de hoy nos toca entrevistar a una persona que es parte del staff ejecutivo de esta empresa. Vamos a platicar con David, vamos a mencionar algunos temas en relación a esta práctica de lo que es la planeación estratégica y bueno, pues déjenme les platico un poquito más de nuestra invitada. Ella es Debbie Van den Eynden. Ella actualmente se desempeña como Global Organizational Development Manager para el grupo de Saint-Gobain y pues principalmente su enfoque es hacia la parte de desarrollo organizacional, todo aquello que tiene que ver con los recursos humanos. Y como bien lo hemos comentado en otros programas, la importancia de que recursos humanos se involucre en la planeación estratégica del negocio, pues bueno, aquí tenemos un claro ejemplo con David, que justamente es parte de su función. Debbie, welcome for joining us on this interview. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure.
We know that you are so busy on this quick visit to Mexico, and it's a pleasure to have you on this interview. We're going to talk about the strategic planning activity, which is normally an activity that is taken in the organizations like this one at the first of the year with the intention of give a north or a direction, a clear direction for the rest of the year to the company, right? So one of the things that we've been promoting in our radio program for all our audience is the importance to have human resources or capital human, or in this case, organizational development involved on this kind of activities like is strategic planning. So the question for you is how important for your performance as a strategic directors or strategic manager, how important it has been having involvement of the people in the plans on this kind of activity? I mean, strategic planning. How can you explain a little bit this situation in your side?
The importance of people in our business. We are a business that is growing, so it's quite a challenging. We are a challenging business, right? There's a lot of challenges. We are a growing business. We expect to grow further, so that's always a challenge. We are also quite a complex business with quite high-tech products. So by definition, I would say people are very important to us because our value is really in what the people are making in the factories, right? So it's about the knowledge, the expertise that people have. This is actually the value that we have because it's about expertise, it's about technical knowledge. So it's not something that you can easily replace, right? So that's why we value people, for sure, because they are very important to us. Also, we have quite, I dare to say we have quite a progressive view on how we see the value of people. So it's not just, for us, employees are not just people who execute a job. We see them as people who have their own ideas, who have their own brain, right? So it's not just a pair of hands and feet coming into the office or coming into the factory. We see them as a person with their own brain that come in. So we want to really tap into that collective intelligence because we believe that people can really, if we put the collective intelligence together, that's where we can thrive as a business. That's what we firmly believe in. But it's quite challenging because it's easier to treat your people as robots, right? It's just yes or no or 1 or 0. If you want people to really thrive and grow, it means that you also have to give them the opportunity to do so. So it's also about trusting them, creating the trust from leaders to employees and vice versa. So it's creating that trust so that you can create a collaboration and that you can create really that platform where people can be themselves, where they feel safe and they feel the trust to really be themselves and bring the best version of themselves, if that makes sense to you.
Definitely, David. Excellent. we believe in that as well, and we're getting a very aggressive promotion on this, because definitely that's the way in order to keep growing organizations like this one. And in this way, Debbie, another question is, how do you consider is the best way to get these people, which just like you said, is more than another number in the company? It's people who is able to think, to contribute with some ideas and stuff like that. How do you think is the best way to get involved these people in this kind of processes, which are giving the impulse to the company for that growing?
There's not one way. It's not one simple way to do that, right? It's many different aspects that are important. For sure, again, and each time I come back to the question of trust and creating that safe space. I think that's very important, where people really feel trusted so that they can open up and thrive and be the best version of themselves, as I said before. Of course, there's the aspect of training, which is very important. Training, personal development. It's also a question of the leadership being more like a servant leader, a transformational leader, rather than a directive leader. So I think there's a lot of importance in how the leaders show up to their people. So it's not about just telling them what to do, because that's when you close down all the ideas and all the opinions. It's really up to the leader to also give that space to their people and to give that trust to their people, and empower them to really come up with ideas and to take ownership and to push the business forward.
Got it. Definitely, the role of the leadership is very important.
Yeah.
And also in this way as well, in order to empower people, communication is very important. It should be very effective. In your opinion, and also in your experience, how's been the best way to make the deployment of this kind of activities like strategic planning through all the organization? How it's been the best way to deploy this for all the people and not to have anyone lost in the middle because of a bad communication in this process, I mean.
In my view, there's not just one way of communication, because we have many different profiles of people. So we have a really wide diversity. We're a very, very global business, very international business. And even in the sites, you have different kinds of people. You have people who like to read stuff, you know. You have people who don't like to read because it's boring. You have people who like to just listen to or watch a video. You have the generational differences. So there's so many different ways of people grasping information. And this is something that we really need to take into account, and that's why I love this initiative, you know, of doing a podcast or a radio, because it's a very modern way of communicating, right?
Definitely it is.
So I think it's really a mix. There's not just one way of doing it. It's a mix, it's a combination, and it's also making sure it gets down to every single person. So not just, you know, a newsletter. Of course, a newsletter is important, but it should not be just the newsletter. So I know in our production sites, there's regular town halls, so where the plant manager would just collect everyone together and then just verbally tell the story of the site, you know, what are the results, what are the forecasts. So it's really a mix of verbal communication, very direct communication. There's one site in the US who is now exploring a special app where they can just send a WhatsApp message to all their employees. So just for quick messages, maybe to celebrate, or maybe to just say Merry Christmas everyone, or whatever.
Okay.
So these are different ways that are kind of focused or targeted to different groups, different profiles, different generations, because there's a big difference in there as well.
Definitely it is.
Yeah.
Debbie, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to have you in this interview.
Sure.
Gracias a la audiencia también por poner atención en esta entrevista. Pues Debbie compartiendo sus experiencias, sus opiniones en relación a esta actividad tan importante como es la planeación estratégica del negocio a nivel global, siempre tomando en cuenta los principios y los valores que promueven el que las empresas somos personas. Gracias.